Good morning, everybody. We didn't get much sleep, but we still have an amazing show for everybody today.
Thank you guys so much for joining us last night. We had a ton of fun doing that live coverage. A lot more to talk about from the debate, and we've got some great guests to do it, including Adam Green, big Elizabeth Warren supporter. We'll hear what he has to say. Also, all of the fundraising numbers for this quarter are in, and they are very revealing. So we will dig into all of that and more today on Rising.
Just 2 days ago, the New York Times put out an article saying that I'm a Russian asset and an Assad apologist and all these different smears. This morning, a CNN commentator said on national television that I'm an asset of Russia. Completely despicable.
My son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I carried out the policy of the United States government.
Somebody who wrote the damn bill, as I said. Let's be clear. Under the Medicare for All bill that I wrote, premiums are gone. Co-payments are gone. Deductibles are gone. All out-of-pocket expenses are gone.
Big last night as 12 candidates took the stage. Warren in new frontrunner status, taking a lot of incoming hits, but I don't think she really took out any water.
No, not really. I mean, she spoke 23 minutes. I thought she generally held her own. She's got a few different things that she's going to have to answer for, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But overall, I mean, generally we can say that Joe Biden did pretty well. Joe Biden did very badly. Elizabeth Warren did pretty well. Bernie Sanders, I think, probably had the best night out of all the major top-tier candidates.
Yeah.
Andrew Yang as well. Everybody else in the second tier did not do well. And the one we were all, I think, at least I personally was really hoping for, Tulsi Gabbard, she had probably her weakest performance.
Definitely her weakest debate so far. There's a lot of commentary in the media about Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg having a great night. I mean, personally, I didn't see it, but they did definitely sharpen their attacks. I thought Pete in particular was much more aggressive going after Warren in particular. He's clearly decided that his lane is to be the more right-wing candidate so that if Biden falls, he might be the beneficiary of that, which is not a crazy idea. Biden looked terrible last night, so those votes may in fact be up for grabs.
Yeah, we're certainly going to have to see. I think the main thing, and Kamala Harris had that embarrassing moment. I thought she had a terrible night. I mean, the majority of her speaking time was spent trying to get Elizabeth Warren to commit to banning Trump from Twitter. And I said this last night, but looking at antitrust through the lens of banning Trump from Twitter is one of the most ridiculous, farcical ideas I've ever seen.
Well, it reminded me of your commentary on Kamala Harris, that she picks up on these kind of woke signaling issues, like banning plastic straws rather than, focusing on a more comprehensive. Right. So it's just, it's a weird thing to pick up on as your signature line of attack on the front runner at this point. And I think everybody was left scratching their heads, whether they agreed with her or not, honestly.
It's a strange one.
Yeah.
All right, Krystal, what's on your radar?
Well, I think as we said on this show, last night was make or break for Bernie Sanders, and he absolutely hit it out of the park. He came in, he was feisty, he was fired up. He was a voice of moral clarity, in particular on the Democratic Party and whether they have the guts to do the big things that are really necessary to challenge the corporate interests and the special interests in this country. He also had a sense of humor. He joked about medical marijuana. He was able to brush easily off questions about his health. I think that will basically be put behind him at this point because he was so vigorous and effective last night. I would say this is the best debate performance that he's had, not only this election cycle, but over the course of his presidential campaigning career. He really was on top of it. This was a great moment that he had, in particular, going after Joe Biden. Take a listen.
You also got done, and I say this as a good friend, you got the disastrous war in Iraq done. You got a bankruptcy bill, which is hurting middle-class families all over this country. You got trade agreements like NAFTA and PNTR with China done, which have cost us 4 million jobs. And let's get to Medicare for all. Let's be honest. We spend twice as much per person as do the people of any other major country on earth.
And why that is so effective is because Biden wants to run on his record, of which he certainly has a lengthy one. But what does that record include? And so for Bernie Sanders to say, yeah, you've gotten a lot done, a lot of things like the Iraq War, like bad trade deals like NAFTA and TPP, and these terrible bankruptcy bills that hurt consumers, that's what we need to be talking about. So it's a very good night for Bernie Sanders, but it doesn't end there. We're also now getting a clearer picture of where every single candidate stands in terms of their fundraising. And once again, Bernie Sanders is on top of the heap. Not only did he outraise all of his competitors in Q3, but he sits on $33 million cash on hand, a full $8 million more than the closest next competitor, Elizabeth Warren. Meanwhile, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, Joe Biden, he has plummeted to just under $9 million cash on hand. He's in a very dangerous position, so this matters a great deal. We also have new numbers out from the Sanders campaign just from yesterday. Yesterday alone, they raised $620,000 from 40,000 different individual contributors. They're the only campaign who has more individual contributors than Donald Trump, so they are going to be touting that, and it's a very important metric. Meanwhile, adding to his big comeback week, we learned last night through reporting from the Washington Post and also confirmed here on our own show with senior advisor to Bernie Sanders, Chuck Rocha, that this weekend AOC, very important endorsement, will be backing Bernie Sanders. He's also picked up 2 other members of the squad, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. But we've talked about here, Sagar and I, how much AOC's endorsement means. Most endorsements, frankly, are fairly meaningless. Cory Booker's got tons of them. They don't mean anything. But this one matters because she is the symbol, more than maybe anyone else, of the new rising grassroots working class coalition that is taking over the Democratic Party. She's got a base, she's got energy, she's got a massive platform behind her. So this weekend in New York, AOC will be that special guest with Bernie Sanders on the stage, capping a big, big week for him. Sagar, I don't think you could have put together a better week for him in terms of getting back in the game, gaining momentum, and I think you will probably see a bump in the polls for him. And it's these are the kind of pieces too that the media can't ignore. They can't pretend that he fell flat. They can't pretend he didn't get this endorsement. They can't pretend that he's not number one in terms of fundraising.
That was always the frustration, is that he was giving people the opportunity in order to write false stories about him. Now, everybody saw it with their own eyes on network television. That takedown moment on Joe Biden, a lot of the networks probably aren't going to play it because I think a lot of them don't even realize the significance of that moment and how much it actually means to so many people. By the way, not in the Democratic base, in America. Everybody wants to see the people who took us to war in Iraq called out to their face. Remember when Donald Trump did that to Jeb Bush in one of those debates? It was one of the biggest, most powerful moments in which he actually secured his spot on that stage, because for years and years and years, guys like Jeb Bush and Joe Biden, who architected so much of the failures that we have today, continue to run on their records and get a total free pass by the establishment. I couldn't think of a better night for Bernie Sanders. He absolutely knocked it out of the park, and kudos to his campaign for lining up that AOC endorsement, leaking it right at the very end of the debate to take up a lot of that oxygen. It's a really, really big deal for him, and he did really well. He's going to be in this thing. We already knew he was going to be in it for the long haul, but now he's literally going all the way to the end.
Yeah, this we may look back at this week. I mean, ironically, you never know how these things are going to turn out, but after the heart attack, this may actually be the week that was a turning point for his campaign.